When millions of citizens mobilize for a regional election in India, the democratic machinery operates with a scale few nations can match. Yet, as these specific voter IDs confirm, this remained a local matter. This makes it a significant departure from standard diplomatic protocol that former U.S. President Trump publicly congratulated Prime Minister Modi on a regional state victory. Indian lawmakers like MP Sanjay Raut quickly flagged the endorsement as an inappropriate external interference in India's federal structure. A global leader inserting himself into a state-level race is rarely a random blunder. It suggests a deliberate maneuver that requires investigation. Historically, this level of attention is out of character. Trump completely ignored major Indian state elections in the past, including the significant 2017 UP elections. His previous rhetoric toward India was often aggressive. On several occasions, he publicly described the nation as a failed economy and even referred to it as a hellhole. You can see the tension here in the White House briefing room, where past hostile remarks sparked an institutional scramble. U.S. officials were frequently forced to the podium to perform damage control. This raises a central question. What geopolitical force is powerful enough to make an aggressive leader pivot to such specific, unprompted flattery? On the global stage, extreme shifts in diplomatic tone often signal a backdrop of economic pressure. The shift begins at the macro level. This strategy, known as universal tariffs, used blanket taxes on imports. The administration deployed 10% and 25% universal tariffs to create an economic chokehold, bullying nations into signing favorable trade agreements. However, the legal foundation of this strategy has crumbled. The U.S. Court of International Trade recently declared these universal tariffs illegal. Beyond the courtroom, the strategy is failing with allies as well. Nations initially pressured into these deals are now reassessing the agreement's value. This high-level admission is anchored here. The Canadian Prime Minister stated that these rushed trade deals aren't worth the paper they are printed on. These legal defeats and public admissions suggest that the era of dictating global trade through unilateral pressure is meeting significant resistance. This leaves the U.S. in a difficult diplomatic position. It is increasingly alienated from traditional partners and stripped of its primary economic leverage. This has forced the adoption of a software version strategy, a tactical evolution where previous threats are replaced by targeted flattery. The West Bengal congratulatory message is a deployment of this software version tactic. It uses a high-visibility gesture to signal a change in tone. This maneuver aims specifically at the upcoming, highly critical U.S.-India trade deal negotiations. Interfering in a regional election offered a low-cost method to court Indian leadership and attempt to repair a fractured economic bridge. India is a primary target for this shift because of its strategic patience. While other nations rushed into deals, India refused to yield under the height of the tariff wars. The massive scale of these stacked cargo containers illustrates India's current economic leverage. They absorbed the financial pressures of the trade war without compromising sovereignty. This resilience is being noticed globally. Inside organized spaces like this Chinese government hall, other superpowers are also being forced to adjust their posture toward a more unyielding Asian market. The global consensus has shifted. Major emerging markets can no longer be pressured into submission. They must be courted as partners. India has transitioned from a reactive participant in global trade to a central pillar that dictates its own terms. We are seeing a decline in the era where Western superpowers could use economic bullying to secure deals from developing nations. The resulting reality is a hyper-targeted, transactional diplomacy, where regional interference and flattery are used as primary currency. This physical handshake confirms the new reality. Leaders who once traded in insults must now negotiate on equal footing to secure their own economic futures. The U.S. now requires access to the Indian market, as much as India values U.S. partnership. With these flags intertwining equally, the lines of communication on the global chessboard now reflect